Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So another day, another map guide, and today we're here with the first round of actually getting to portal maps. And today we're here with Valparaiso. So we've done the same thing for all the all-out warfare maps, and there's a playlist of that. As always, the link to that playlist is down in the description if you just want to know a little bit more about secrets and tricks in 2042. But if you haven't played these maps in previous Battlefield games before, well, no worries. I'm here to give you all the tips and tricks, all the secrets that I know, all the things that I do for like improving my gameplay in these maps. So portal maps are also a part of the roster for Conquest 64. You guys need to know what to do here as well. So these are just as important as the base game maps. So with all that said, let's get started and take a look at A1. So this is a pretty simple site. I just don't want to make it complicated a lot because it really isn't. So there's a building here and a small hut around here. This building is very important, especially if you're coming here alone and there's no teammate, there's no squad mate here and you're just playing alone. This is very important for you, okay? So remember that. This is also considered a great place, but in different circumstances. So I'll let you know why. First of all, let me tell you where people spawn. So if you're attacking this site and people want to come and get you, there are some spawn locations that most of the times people get spawned from. So there's this hill. This is the most probable spawn location for anyone coming to defend this site. So this hill, from there all the way to back there, I've seen people spawn down here, so you also need to take that into consideration, and sometimes just in the woods in here. So these are the spawn locations. So let's say you're coming here alone, you're gonna need some place with better cover, better concealment, and just literally a stronger position for yourself. This is the building that we were talking about. You know, there are two types of players: people who just camp like this, and people who actually know what it's like to be unpredictable, and they just jump on stuff, make things that are unpredictable for the enemy players. So you can do all sorts of things here. Generally speaking, being on top of these boxes, let's call them, is just a better way of hiding yourself for people who come into this building to search for you. So that's the lone wolf option you have. But if you have teammates here and the fight's taking on, people will probably spawn from around there on top of that hill, and you're not going to be in a comfortable range in this building. You won't have a lot of lines of sight on these people. What you're going to do instead is come around here and just play like this, because people will spawn there. You're still hit glitched behind a solid cover, and they really can't do anything about you, especially if there are teammates here. Take that into consideration, and there's really not much more to talk about when it comes to A1. So we've got a lot of sites in this map, 7 sites, so let's not waste time and take a look at A2 now. Now, as you can see on the mini-map, A2 is so big. It's like enormous as a site. In my opinion, it's one of the biggest sites in the entire game. So the contesting area is just a lot bigger than you would expect. First of all, let's see where people spawn. So most of the times, for the majority of times, you need to be looking out for this harbor around here. Okay, so people will spawn around here, believe it or not, in this hut or behind it, next to that ship, probably just down here. And there's a small building here, this one. That actually might be a spawn location under some rare circumstances, but that happens. Another rare circumstance is going to be behind that building, like on top of that hill, somewhere like that. But most of the times, again, you shouldn't be worried about those places. The main focus should be around here, this harbor down here. That's where you should be looking. Now, if we really want to just hold people from coming into the site from down here, there are multiple places that you can actually hold. One of them is being on top of this building right here. So you have eyes on here, prone, but if you just get up, you can see the ship, the hut, all the way to that building. So you can even be here, which is a bit safer, but you have less lines of sight on top of this building. So simply anywhere with lines of sight on this harbor and like this hut is going to be a perfect place. If you don't want to risk it, or the enemy team is like pushing you and they're already around the site or even inside, playing in one of these buildings is just the better option. I don't really recommend this one because it's like a prison, to be honest. It's better for hiding yourself if you're attacking the site and you're alone. But if there are teammates here playing in this building, and also this red building right here is going to be more interesting, especially this one, because you have everything under control around here. Anyone that spawns will literally be in your sight. So I really like playing in that red hut as well. And there's this building, not to forget this one. This is another cool place. So we've got 3 buildings that you can actually play in with a bit more safety. Apart from that, there's really not much going on this side. There's a turret up there in that tower, but that's that's not really that important, to be honest. So let's just move on to B sector and start off with B1. So before we get into the site itself, as you can see, there's a tower here, and if you've played here, you know how frustrating it can get sometimes when people are on top of that tower, especially on top or in some of these little windows there. They're not going to let you have an easy time here. Okay, this rarely happens in my guides, but just forget about it. Okay, forget about it. Especially if you can contest the site without them being on your nerves, then just completely forget about it. It takes a lot of time to get there, get up there. Getting back here, they have height advantage over you. They have better lines of sight over you. So that's not a practical thing to do to get up there, especially if you're alone, to clear a tower like that with a lot of snipers with radio beacons and stuff. Just don't do it. Get back into the site. Being behind a building like this will completely remove that threat. Okay, just take cover here, keep capturing the site and move on. That's what you should do. Now let's see where people spawn here. Most of the time it's going to be like down here and just around here, and most of the times just down here, somewhere around these rocks and on top of this hill. So this is going to be where people spawn, and that's why you see a lot of people actually pushing you from here. And all of a sudden there are like 2 people in this building. This building is very important to hold because that's going to be their first stronghold as they spawn and get into the site. So taking control of this building is very important. If you just don't control that, it doesn't matter. Playing in this building, in my opinion, is very cool. Especially you have some objects here that can make things harder for your enemies as well. For example, you can jump on top of this and be unpredictable. Simple as that. Same goes for the other building, which is this one. Yeah, simple as that. And you can even navigate between them, which is very interesting. For example, someone comes here, you kill them, get here, that's it. Sometimes you're forced to play here. Let's say you get into the site, there are people around the site, and you're forced to play here. This, in my opinion, is a very interesting place to be. The head glitch is so intense that you can barely aim. Like, look, half of my aim is actually at the cover. Possible for people to kill you from here, okay? Especially if people are inside that house or just around here. It's going to be really hard for them. Even people in that building are going to have a really hard time to do that. They have just a bit of a height advantage over you, but it's going to be really hard even for these guys. So in my opinion, utilize these covers properly, and this is going to be a very good place. Not to stay too long here because it's going to get weird and people will flank you easier, but getting a kill or 2 and then find your way into the side is going to be really practical here. So always keep that in mind. Now again, if you've played here, you know that these hilltops are going to be like places for snipers, people with LMGs and stuff. If you want to get there as fast as possible, and especially if you want to get from B1 to B2, there's a simple trick that you can do. So you see this little area here, right? What you're going to do is getting here, and you're going to see this tree and these rocks, okay? Simply just get up there. Simple as that. Nothing hard, nothing fancy, but it's going to work 100% of the times, and it's a game changer, okay? So again, let's do it one more time. Jump on these rocks. I don't even press the jump button, okay? Not even once. And you just get up here. You can clear out snipers and just campers around here. But now we're at B2. Let's take a look. B2 is pretty simple. It really is a pretty simple site. So let me tell you a bit about the spawn locations. You see that building right there and this building? These are the common spawn locations for people that come to defend the site, okay? But as a matter of fact, people might actually spawn from this hilltop. And this really happens a lot of times. Always be aware of what's going on this hilltop. And sometimes people might get spawned there, like around there, or say even down here. So practically speaking, everywhere you look, people might spawn for you. Now there are 3 main buildings here. Obviously this one, that one right over there, and this one, okay? I prefer to play here most of the times because it has a height advantage over both of these buildings. And generally speaking, if people come down from this hill towards the site, you're going to be the first one to see them. You're going to hear them coming. Whereas if you're playing in that building, none of that is an option anymore. And you simply see someone in this building all of a sudden shooting you. You don't know where they come from, but most of the times they just come from back there, get into the building and start shooting you. So most of the times I prefer to play here first, and then my second priority is going to be this one for the same reasons. And then if I don't have an option or there are just enemies here, I'm going to be playing here and try to make something out of this building. Also, mines work around here because, well, there are so many vehicles just coming from like C1 especially to here. They're most of the times in a hurry because they want to get here ASAP and probably push to A1 as well. Most of the times they're not going to be paying a lot of attention to what's going on around them. So a mine here is going to get you some kills as well. Now let's take a look at B3. This side is actually my favorite because there's always action here and you can always feel the tension around this side. Even when there's nothing going on around it, you feel like something's gonna happen pretty soon. That's my feeling about this site. And the reason for that is basically being in the middle of the map, as you can see, and it literally just works as a corridor between C sector and the rest of the map. So that's why a lot of people just come through, especially with vehicles, from C1 and C2, and they're most of the times in a rush. If you place mines here, it's pretty likely you get some kills out of it. So in my opinion, do make sure to try that out. But for the most part, there are two buildings here, this red one and this one with the blue ceiling, and there's not much of a difference between them. In my opinion, you just need to choose the one which is more intact, because most of the times in the beginning of the round, one of these two or both of them actually get destroyed for some reason. Like vehicles actually engage around this side for the first time, and these buildings will be gone in no time. But if there is one of them intact, definitely choose that over the other. But there are other places, no worries. For example, this hut right here, you have lines of sight that are pretty much unpredictable, and they can't do anything about it. For example, if you shoot someone in that window, what can they do about it? Okay, and there's this window here which actually gives you a bigger line of sight here, which is pretty cool. Now, before I forget, let me tell you where people spawn. Most of the times, again, they're going to be down here, down there, down here, behind this building. So most of the times you should be looking out for around this little space, this little open train here. That's what you're gonna do. But there are some exceptions as usual, like rare occurrences, stuff like that. Sometimes people spawn from here, this building, behind it, and sometimes even around here, this hill, just around here. But for the majority of times, they're going to be spawning from down there, the open train, and literally behind that building. So that's what you should take care of. But if you don't want to contest the site, you want to clear it out first and something like that, in my opinion, this is going to be the best option you have. This building right here, because you see everything going on around the site. If you want to just progress a bit more, you can be on top of this, just simply like this. Apart from that, there's really not much going on this site, and that's all you should know. Now let me take you to C2. We're switching sectors here. C2 is a huge site as well. There's a lot going on around it, but it mainly has two buildings, this one and that one. Most of the times, if I get into the site, what I do is make myself a little high ground here, simply by getting on top of this building. Now I check out what's going on around me, and then simply just decide what to do. Most of the times I just get into the other building and just stop there to see where people come from. This red hot here as well is going to pay off if you want to just play it safer, and you don't want to be in the center of attention where people come and check for you. This is going to be something that you should keep in mind. But let me tell you where people spawn for you. Most of the time it's going to be around here, this open terrain, under this little hut here, all the way back there in this jungle. This is going to be most of the times the case, or even behind this hut. If that's the enemy base, literally everywhere you look is a spawn location for the enemy team. So that's why you have to utilize cover. You have to just be aware of what's going on around you 24/7 when you play here. In my opinion, if you want to play alone, just play in one of these houses and you should be good to go. Just keep in mind that underneath these buildings there's some space. Rats can be here, okay, just like always. So you have to just take care of the rats if they go down there. Keep that in mind. But if there are friendly people in the site, your squad mates, your teammates, whatever, and you want to just look over the site from a different perspective without actually contesting it, this building, this hut right here with this blue cover, this is going to be a very interesting place. You simply get on top of it, just like this, and you go prone. You go prone because people will see you if they spawn from back there, and you don't want that. You can actually do that. You can just try to spawn peek, spawn kill. If you want to play it safe, you're going to go prone here. As they are pushing towards the side, you're going to cut them down. Simple as that. So this is also a tip that you should keep in mind. But for the majority of times, this building and this one is going to do the job. You don't need to make it complicated that much. Now let's get to the final site. Let me show you some things here. Now for the spawn locations, where I'm standing on top of this hill is already a spawn location. Around here is a spawn location. Down there, like just around here, down these hills, is going to be a spawn location for the enemy team. On top of those rocks, behind the rocks, and even around here is going to be a spawn location. And if that's the enemy base, then you can simply add another spawn location, and that's going to be here. Just around here, and vehicles will be coming from their base. So placing mines around, just not going to be a bad idea. Okay, now when I get into the site, usually what I do is either I play here or I play in that hut right there. So in this building, you have some options to not be that predictable, playing around here, maybe here. These are things that you can do to just be less unpredictable for the enemies that come in to kill you. But I really like to play here in this little hut. The reason for that is I see anyone coming from down here, behind that rock, and even around this building. And hell, even anyone coming from their base. So it's going to be a vintage point. That's what I'm telling you. So this is going to be a really cool place to play it. But then again, sometimes it just gets complicated. People camp around their base and you need to push. If you want to push, in my opinion, you should push from the left side because literally there's no cover in the right side, but you have these around here. They're going to make your day easier. So if you want to push their base, push from left. Apart from that, there's not much really going on with C1, and that's all the sites taken care of. Now, if I want to give you some general tips, in my opinion, because of the layout of the map, LMGs really work great here. Especially the hilltops around B sector are just great for LMGs laying down some suppressive fire. You have 200 bullets, you have a bipod, and you can just start a shit show of rounds and unleash hell on the enemy team. In my opinion, sniper rifles actually do work here, but I just don't really like to play them here. For the majority of times, I just play LMGs, SMGs, and assault rifles. In my opinion, DMRs actually work way better than sniper rifles because in my opinion, the medium range gunfights will occur a lot more than the long range gunfights in this map. That's something you should also keep in mind. Believe it or not, McKay is one of the best operators to play in this map because of the grappling hook, and in my opinion, nothing really beats it. Because the buildings in this map are just weaker, they're literally just huts, not buildings. Even playing as Zane is going to be great because the XM370 is going to be just a hell of an advantage over some enemies hiding in those huts. So that's all we've got today for today's map. Hope you guys enjoyed and hope this was helpful. This video is also going to be added to the playlist. Again, the link to the playlist is down in the description. We've done all the base game maps and we're going for portal maps now. Go ahead, watch them one by one. You're going to learn a lot of things. There are secrets you're going to learn, and it's going to make your day easier as a Battlefield player in Battlefield 2042. Thank you all guys for watching, and until next time guys, stay cool.